Right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. So we have a little bit of a break tonight from the complicated Gemaras of the last few days. Now it's much easier. It's a much easier daf tonight. Okay, so we're up to the Mishna. Yeah. Yeah, Mishna Yud Testament Aleph. Bachol Kaisen. So you could write a get with everything. Right? So we're gonna see what exactly is being added because it says Bachol Kaisen. It says you can write with anything. B'dioi is black ink, right? Bisam, Sikra, Kumus, Kankantum, right? These things all go together. Like when writing Sifrei Torah, writing Megillas, right? They're all different types of inks. And anything that's shel kayama. So there's the Mishnah seems to be going very much at length here, saying you can write with anything. Then it goes and says a bunch of things you can write with, and then it goes and then it's a b'chol davar shu shel kayama, and anything that lasts. Fine. Ain't kaisen leb mashkin, but you can't write with liquids, and not with fruit juice, and not with anything that's not going to last. Right, so I'm assuming the mashkin is not going to last, and the meiperis is not going to last. Fine, alakol kaisen, and you're allowed. So that's so far the inks. Now we do what's the writing? What does he write it on? Alakol kaisen, ala shel zayis. You can do it on a leaf of zayis, right? But the chayra, it's lav dafka, meaning it has to be it has to be how do you call it? It can't be like the leaf of a regular tree, like we have here. What type of trees we have here? That the leaves fizzle. They get bad. They go bad. It has to be on a leaf that will stay for a long time. And on the horn of a para. Rachamim, I don't know why the goats don't get any good coverage here. I make a macha on your behalf. Yeah. V'noisen la para, and then meaning you write it on the horn of the para, and you give her the para. Al yad, that's a real goodbye present. Al yad shel eved, on the hand of an eved. V'noisen la, as the eved, you give her the eved.
What kind of writing with ink that he washes off?
No, I guess you got to write on that permanent ink on the eved. I don't know. It's a good question. That's a good question. Meaning, what type of ink? How can it be permanent on the eved? Well, the eved is. I mean, either way, it's got to be an eved kananis.
Did I just find out a way I can get a tattoo?
Maybe. Maybe.
how you're not an eved kanani though.
Well, I'm saying it doesn't.
Eved kanani is not Machlokes.
Judge me. Maybe you judge me. It's 2023. I could be whatever I want.
You can write a get for your wife on your eved's hand and have your eved deliver it.
He just want to make himself into an eved. He'll make himself into an eved. He gives himself to his wife.
He already made himself an eved when he got married.
Oh man, very good. No, but I'm saying, I wonder, can you give a regular? No, because you can't give yourself away, right? No, that's what I'm saying. That's why it has to be an eved.
Well, it's Yaakov. If it's an eved, if you hold eved mishum karka it has din on karkais, how would you be nice in karkais also?
Well, then okay, yeah, I hear that.
Unless you say it's the Matthias, it's not really karkar. It's just it's a Matthias thing that you're able to give him over.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But anyways, weiter. I lost the place now. Hold on. Yeah. So okay. So you can put it on the eved's hand. I don't know. Naftali's asking a good question. How do you put it on the eved's hand? So Simon wants to say it means a tattoo. Okay, maybe a temporary tattoo. How's that?
What's the problem putting it on David's hand?
So how? Meaning we said it has to be permanent.
So,
what are you tattooing it on him?
I don't know how all these inks work. What's the big
I don't know either, but it's got to be a permanent ink.
So it's a permanent ink. No.
So then that's a tattoo.
I don't know the definition of a tattoo. I'm not a rabbi. I don't know.
It's a very contemporary question, Agav, because a lot of women with the makeup now want to put on like the last 5 years.
The eyeliner.
The eyeliner and the this and that lasts around 5 years. So it's a big shiloh of tattooing. Right? Anyways, okay. Rabbi Yossi says you're not allowed to put it on anything that's alive. Right? We'll see what the Machlokes is. Okay, so there's basically the first part of the Mishna is the type of inks. Second part of the Mishna is the type of ksav, and there's a Machlokes whether you're allowed to put it onto things that are alive. So Zok the Gemara, Diyoi is diusa. Diyoi is black ink. That's what we use nowadays. Sam is sama. Okay, sikra. What's sikra? So sikra really means red. It's called sikrasa. Kumos is kuma. Kankantum. What's kankantum? Right, that's something that's made. What do you call it? The art school says it's from a shoemaker. It's the black from a shoemaker. I don't know exactly what the different shades of black between that and di, but that's what seems what it is. Fine. So now what's the Gemara adding? That it's with any the Mishnah. What's the Mishnah adding when it goes through a list of the inks, and then it says lasuye mai. What's it coming to include? Lasuye adatani Rab Chanina kasvu b'mei tarya va'afta. If you write it with this liquid from mei tarya is from rainwater, right? I don't know exactly. I mean, Rashi says that you take some sort of fruit and you soak it in there, and then it makes it. He says galls, right? Va'afta and that's gallnut. So that's kosher. Yeah. So meitar, I don't know, why does it have to be rainwater? Why can't it be any water? You soak the fruit in there. So I don't know. I guess there must be something about the properties of rainwater. Okay. Kosher. If you write it with ever is what do you call it? Lead. Shachar is something black. Ubashichur. And with also different types of blacks, then it's all kosher. Fine. Itmar. So let's say somebody takes ink, black ink, and he writes over red ink on Shabbos. Right? So basically you have something written before Shabbos that's in red. Then you go and you write over it in black. So did you really write something? Those letters were written before Shabbos. You're just writing on top of it. So Yochanan and lakish both say chayav shtayim. You're chayav twice. Achas mishum ksav, achas mishum meichik. One with writing and one for erasing. Why? Because you're writing the black on top of the red, and you're also erasing the whatever was there before. Right? Yeah. So now how are you erasing though? So Rashi says, no, it's not. No, Rashi says you have to erase the bottom two letters, and then you're able to he erased the bottom two letters and then wrote on top of them.
So what's the shiloh in the first place?
What? What's the shiloh? Well, that's maybe like there's no machlokes. They're both saying you can be chayav twice. Once for it's reish lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, reish lakish that they're agreeing. They're agreeing. Well, it's a build up to the next where they disagree. That's Rabbi Yochanan. What? Yeah, so Rabbi Yochanan reish lakish dami to chayav shtayim achas mishum ksav. One is because of writing. Achas mishum meichik. Diyoy al gabi diyoy. What about black on black? Meaning you have two black letters there, and you write on top of them sikra al gabi sikra and red on top of red. And you potter, right? Because what you do, you didn't add anything. It was there before. Yeah. So now on this, there's a major machlokes because it's mashma that if you just write one letter on top of another letter, then you're potter. It's obviously you can't do it on Shabbos, but you're potter, right? You decide to write on top of a book, and you decide to just write letters on top of it. So then it's mashma from here that it would be potter, right? again, potter doesn't mean mutter, it means potter avalasa. Right? Yeah, fine. That's what's mashmuk. That's Taisus Di, the second Taisus Di. Sikra Gabi Di. What about red on top of black? So Amri la chayav, Amri la potter. Some say it's chayav, some say it's potter. Amri la chayav meichiku. Because in order to put the red on top of the black, you had to erase. Okay, so why are you not chayav for ksav? Right? Because when you erase black to put red, that it's not nearly as good as what was there before. So since it's not good what was there before, what?
He didn't want to erase it. It just happens, Mamela, but he wants to write the red. He doesn't want to erase the black. Who says he wants to erase the black?
That seems like that's what it's talking about. No? I think it seems to be that he has to erase in order to write. That's what we said in the first case. That's the way Rashi said it. He's actually erasing before he puts the other color on. But in this case, the reason why he's not chayav for ksav is because the color that was there before this was better, which I don't clearly understand. Because so that means that if something was ever written on a piece of paper, then I erase it totally, and now I write it on Shabbos, I'm not chayav because there were letters there before. Right, so I'm not sure. Okay, so but yeah. So anyway, so we have some Machlokes. This one says meichik, Amri la potter, and some say potter. Why? Mekalkalhu. Right, one of the more misunderstood halachas in Hilchos Shabbos that it's a mekilkel, meaning he was destroying. Right. So since he was destroying, anytime you destroy something on Shabbos, you are potter. But contrary to popular belief, it's not mutter to be mekalkel. People think that when you just destroy things, it's mutter. It's not mutter, it's potter. Right? You have people that take the styrofoam cups and plastic cups, start cutting it up and playing with it. They say, what's the problem? It's kilkel. Kilkel on Shabbos is not allowed. If you did it, you're potter. Right? Fine. Okay. So that's with that. So now what does this have to do with Gittin? So Bamine reish lakish mir Yochanan. So now reish lakish has to shail from Yochanan. Eidim shein yodim lachtaim. So if you have Eidim who have no idea how to sign their names, so why don't we write their names in red? Ksav alav, and and then sign it. Meaning sign it with black. Meaning put it in red, and then let them sign with black. Ksav elyon ksav, meaning is the top writing a ksav, right? Because they're writing black on top of red. Or is it not ksav, right? Meaning basically you're having them trace it. Yeah. So is that considered a ksav or not? So Amalei ain't a ksav. He said it's not a ksav, right? So since it's not a ksav, it's as if nobody signed on the get. Right, so Shabbos. But didn't you say that for Shabbos, when you write on top black on top of where the red was, then you're chayav? So why is it not a signature? Right? Meaning we said before by Hilchos Shabbos that when the bottom one is red, then it gets erased, but I guess there's still some outline there, and then you write black on top of it. Then you're chayav for Shabbos for ksiva. And here, we're saying that it's not considered a signature. It seems to be a stira. Amrale, so he said to him, just because we thought about something, therefore it becomes a maisa. So the way Rashi understands this is that, yeah, we said it's asur on Shabbos because we weren't sure. We figured it's considered writing. So for Hilchos Shabbos, you stay away from it. But does that mean that we really think it's writing? Meaning, Rashi says, we would never make this fellow bring a carbon chatas. If a guy does this and he writes two black letters on top of red letters, so we're saying that he's chayav. Yes, but would we let the guy come bring a carbon based on that? No, because we're not 100% sure. So it's chulin la'azara, meaning, so what's the cost? What's a big deal? So you bring the carbon. No, that could be chulin la'azara if they're wrong. So what they said is that we meant that it's chayav, right? We meant that it's chayav, but we never would make it actually implement anything that would affect it, like that, like you're bringing a carbon. So therefore, we are not going to say that it's considered enough of a writing in order to be considered, what do you call it, a chasima for a get, right? So it's very interesting. So when he said chayav, it didn't mean that you're going to be chayav a carbon. He just meant that we think that you're going to be chayav, but in the practical, we never bring the carbon. Fine. Itmar, Edom shein yodim lachtam. So now we go through a bunch of scenarios of Edom who can't sign their name. Say Itmar, Edom shein yodim lachtam. They don't know how to sign their name. Rav Amar Mekaran Lahem Niyar Chalak. So what do? We tear for them. We had this Gemara before. You take a smooth parchment and you tear it for them, and then Mamalin is a crime dioi, and you fill up the tears when you tear into the parchment with ink. And Shmuel Amar Be'ever, and Shmuel says you put it with lead. Right? So there's actually two pshatim here in exactly what this means. Some say that it means you actually tear it open, but Rashi says Mekaran means misaret. It's not really torn. You're not tearing the parchment. You're just scratching it. You're making an outline, and he's filling it in with the ink.
We had
Right?
something with this.
We had this Gemara before.
Well, you can't do it without lines.
That's
We had something a few days ago with lines. and
Certain.
sorry, right.
Yeah, that's for Sifrei Kodesh, right?
It's the same word, right?
Yeah. So the other Rishonim say it means that they make like those plastics, they is that a stencil?
Stencil.
Is that a stencil? Yeah. So you take
Silk
like a
screen.
plastic. What?
Silk screen.
I guess silk screen, right? Yeah. They take a
This
plastic.
is the Makar. This Gemara.
Silk screen
it?
is done with a template.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They take it. That's what some say. You take a
Right.
template. A
This
template,
is
right?
his
It's like a
Makar, that it's
plastic.
mutter.
Well, yeah. So this is, this come up with this for a get. They're saying that they could do it for Sifrei Torah too.
Trying to compare the two, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So anyway, so it's like a template with the guy's name, and then you just fill it in with ink, right? So what Gershon's referring to is that people decided that they're going to write Sifrei Torah this way, right? And you just throw it with the ink all over the template, and you can write Sifrei Torah, spit them out like no problem. Which, from what I understand, it's not so clear why it's not mutter, right?
Rav Shlomo Zalman told him it's probably mutter, but we don't do it.
Is that so?
That's what happened. Yeah.
Wow.
I spoke to him. He said because parnasa for the old cipher. That's
Okay, whatever it is. Anyways, so that's a machlokes what this means.
Ksav
But
is
if
not
that's,
a parnasa, the Gemara says.
it's right. Well, you're not going to get rich from it.
So then what's the difference? What do you
No,
say?
it doesn't mean it can't be a parnasa.
Not making money. Shkaya.
No, it can't. It doesn't mean that it's a parnasa, but it's they can make parnasa. It's just not going to get wealthy. Isn't that what the Gemara says?
I think so.
Yeah.
I thought you remained poor. I thought the Gemara said they remained poor.
It said
I
say
thought
poor. I
that-
don't remember.
No, it
Gershon
does
should
not.
know.
It says they will not become rich.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays that
Okay.
means
Yeah. Anyways, fine. So be'ever sakadait. So Shmuel, does it really mean that you put in lead? Vatani Reb Chia kasu be'ever shbeshachur b'shichur kosher. So then, if you fill it in with those types of the lead and the black and those type of things, it's kosher, right? So then, if meaning what he's saying, so if that writing is kosher, so then how can you go say that you could fill it in with lead, right? Meaning, what he's saying, Shmuel's saying that what you do is you scratch it out, then you fill the holes, and then they trace it. So if that's the case, and ever is a kosher ink, so then the original whoever's putting down this lead for the guy signing it who can't sign his name to fill in or to trace, but the letter was already kosher in the first place. Meaning, if you hold that you fill up these holes with aver, and then the guy will go right on top of these holes, right, and he'll know exactly how to trace it. But that means that the aver was a kosher signature before this guy got to it. So how can you say that you fill it with aver? So he says like kasha haba avra. One is talking about actual lead. Haba maya da avra. One is talking about lead with water. Right? So so that mela, that's if you put it with the lead with water, it's not a real ksiva. So that's what you would put there, and then they would trace it on top of that. Fine. Rebavo Amar b'mei milin. You use like we said before, we use the water that has the gallnuts soaked in it, and you put that down, and then they write on top of that. Right? If you write with this gallnut stuff and water, then or this rainwater with fruit in it, so it's kosher. So meaning again the same kasha. If the original ink that you put down for this illiterate guy to write on top of it, if the original ink you put there is a kosher chasima, so then what is the guy adding? He's not really signing anything. Meaning when the guy's signing it, you have to have him do something. You have to put whatever he's going to color over as something that's not kosher as a signature, right? Otherwise, the person that set up this whole thing was the one that signed it, which obviously doesn't work. So when it says lakasha hada ofitz, one is talking about where it was they were worked. Meaning it was properly prepared. Hadalay ofitz, and one is talking about where it wasn't properly prepared. She'ain mei milan or gavi mei milan, right? Because gallnut, the mei milan, this liquid that comes out of gallnuts, will not write on top of the same stuff. We'll see this in Amud Beis also. Meaning, if you write originally with this gallnut liquid, then when you write on top of it, it's not going to come out. Right? I guess
it's one of the ways they tan ksav. One of the ways they tan it is using apatzin. They use it in the tanning liquid. So when they do that, then it's already coated in me'afatzin, so me'afatzin won't make a mark on it. Won't last. It kind of resists itself.
So, yeah, I see. You're saying it's what? Yeah, that's the word. Resists, right? It resists from anything going on there, so therefore it couldn't work. It couldn't be the original gallnut stuff on top of other gallnut stuff. It had to be a different type, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Rapapa Amar beroik. So what you do is saliva. Right, saliva. You take saliva and you write it out on the bottom of the get, and then you have the guy, which is obviously temporary, and then the guy who's illiterate takes the ink and he follows the saliva, and then he's signing it. And that's the way Rav Papa taught to Papa he was a trader. How do you say it? He was a shar trader. Commodities. Cattle. He was a commodities trader.
He was a cattle broker.
Yeah, he's a cattle broker. He's a commodities trader, right? So it was Papa to Ra. He didn't make it into the Siyam. He didn't make it into the Papas, right? But I guess he's not Rav Papa's sons. I don't know. But right,
he's not. This is what Taisvus in Baba Kama, when it says Papa Barabba, he sat on the bench, broke it.
Yeah.
This is the Machlokes Rishonim. Which is it, Rav Papa or this Papa to Rav?
Is that so? Yeah.
I think so.
He supplied the meat for the Siyam.
Very good. Yeah. So, but right, he said the same thing. You do with saliva. Okay. Now the Gemara says, "Bahani mila begittin." So we only do this shtick that we get people who don't know how to sign their name to be signing on Gittin because, like we know, because of Egon, because we got to make sure this lady gets herself divorced. So, Mamela, we're going to take witnesses who are not literate. But by a star, a regular star doesn't have that same urgency. So Mamela, you can't do this, and you got to find somebody who actually knows how to sign his name. Tahu, because there was this guy that did this, meaning he used it for a regular star, the shar stars, the other stars.
So illiterate people can't be Adam on a regular star.
Correct. That's what the Gemara is saying. It's me and Machlokes and Amud Beis, but yes, illiterate people cannot, because they can't really read it either. Even though is there such a thing as reading and not being able to write? Yes, no? Can't you have it that you can read and not write?
Yeah, half my kids are.
Yes.
No, I'm saying you could. They can't write.
They
can't
can read,
write.
but they can't write.
Mom is right. They can't write, or they just write so sloppy that you
Well,
can't tell what it is.
Yeah, it's something like that.
There are
Okay,
people.
but that's not this.
There are people that can read and not write. Adults, yes.
Yeah, it's the level
Yeah,
before.
it's called agraphia, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what does it mean? In the Pashtus, I thought was if you can't sign your name, that means you can't read the star. So how do you sign on a star if you can't read it? Which we'll get to more on Amud Beis. But anyways, yeah, that's what the Gemara is saying now. That Nagde Rav Kana gave him makis for using Eidim who were not literate. Right? So on to Amud Beis. Tanya Kavasei de Rav. We have a brisa like Rav. Eidim. Chain Yodim Lachtoim. Eidim that don't know how to sign. So what we do is we tear for them smooth parchment, and we fill up the cracks with diyai. What are we talking about? That's by Gittin Noshim, but by Shechrurei Avodim and other stars, if they know to read and they know how to sign, chaysmin they sign. And if not, ain't chaysmin, then they don't sign. Okay, so kriya man dochashmei. Who said anything about reading here? We're talking about, right? We're talking about signing, right? So chesurei mechzer v'achitani. There's something missing from the sides. This is what it said. Eidim shein yadin likros. You have eidim that don't know how to read. Kairin lefnei and b'chaysmin. You read in front of them and they sign it. Shein yadin lachtaim. And if they don't know how to sign their names, right? And then you fill it in. That's only by Gittin. But by other things, in Sharkal Asharis, if they know how to read it and sign it, chaysmin, then they sign it. And if not, ain't chaysmin, then they don't sign it.
Why would it matter to be able to read it?
If they can't read it, like if you're reading it for them, and they can't read it and they can sign it. It's kind of weird. If that means that they have to believe the guy who's they bring in some guy. He's an expert reader and he reads however he wants to read it. You know,
they're worried about a goodness. They're worried about women bringing a good. They're trying to bend the rules a little.
So Yaakov, is there a problem with ADPA here, or it's be'etzem the Maisa get? You don't need to actually understand the get. You just need to know that they're doing a Maisa of Krisus when they give it over. Meaning, what exactly are these Eidim that don't know how to read being made about? What they read? Then it will be a problem with ADPA, no? And if they're being on the Maisa of Krisus, first of all, the Maisa of Krisus didn't happen unless they read it's Eidim Sir Karsi. And if that happened, who cares if they could read or write? Why should it be? Should be Mishum Meguna Stam. I'm being made on what you did with Mitzvah Mitzira. So what's the issue here?
Oh, so who understand what issue he's talking about?
The fact that they can't read, why would that be a problem at all? If you hold Eidim Masira Karsi, the Eidim should be that you're signing on the Chayras on the Masira. Who cares if they could read?
Oh, so we're going to get to that.
Karsi, it's Eidim MPA.
Right, so I think we're good. Right, so there's somebody asks that. Is it this guy? I don't remember. It all gels together, all the Gemaras. I think that's Taisa's kasha. No, somebody asked the kasha. See what he's saying? What Akiva's asking is that if they can't read and somebody reads them, so then they're just it's aid me p aid, which is no good. Right? They don't know what's written in the star. Somebody read it to them. Okay, so now they're believing what this guy said. So that means it's one aid in the name of another aid. Yeah. Somebody asked that question.
If I read you a book, that's an aidus on what the book said. I'm just reading something.
If it be old aid the Chasim Karsi, it's in the body of the star. The star itself is what's doing the krisis.
Yeah, as long as they know what it's not aidus saying what's in the star. It's
I don't know. Then what's the problem inside everything else? Why can't star shikhr be the same thing then? It's not aidus in the star.
The cooler is in having someone who can't sign signers, can't read.
So then why star is different? Who cares?
Maybe get it.
The star means nothing itself.
Get is a get. It's a template. It's the same exact thing over and over again. The regular star.
I understand, but the question is where the chalais is happening from, the star itself or the Masira? And the Chasima is just Aedus on the Maisa Krisis that's happening inside the Masira.
Right.
That can't be. That comes first.
Yeah.
And economy, I don't know. I don't if you're being chaysim on the Masira, if your chasim is just after the fact, then I don't know what these. I don't know. I don't know if Rabbi Lazar is going to hold like Rameir in regards to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. It's a big sugya. It's a big sugya with the aid mipi aid. Okay, whatever it is. So we see from here that it's a machlokes whether what do you call it? What do you call it? I just forgot again. I just what is it? Not illiterate. Illiterate. Thank you. Illiterate. Thank you. Illiterate can sign on other shtaras too. Okay. My time to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. How come Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says that you're allowed to do it by Gittin, but not by other shtaras? Because we don't want B'nai Yisrael to be agunas. So my Rava halacha Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Rava says halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Rav Gamda mishmei the Rava Amar ein halacha. Rav Gamda says the halacha is not like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Okay, so then who's the halacha like? Velo kiman kirabanan. Must be it's like the Rabbanan, right? Which is l'chayra the Tanakama here there. And that means that you're allowed to have somebody illiterate sign all types of shtaras. But we said that there was a guy that did. We said on the bottom of an aleph, right? This guy did this uvda by other shtaras, but Nagde Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana smacked him, right? Rav Kahana gave him Malchus. Malchus marred this, obviously, right? So obviously he doesn't pasken like the what do you call it? Like the Rabbanan. So Gemara says Tirgama Akriya. When Rav Gamda said that we don't pasken like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that he's going on the reading part of it, right? Yeah, meaning Rav Shimon Gamliel said that the guy needs to be able to read it and be able to sign it, right? So Rav Gamda says no, he doesn't have to be able to read it and say he's got to be able to sign it, but he doesn't have to be able to read it. Now I don't know exactly what that case would be. Right? What would be the case? What a guy can read, he can sign his name, but he can't read. Like maybe, I guess.
Well, the case would be if you can't sign or read.
Yeah.
You mean he just knows? He memorized how to write his name. That's what you're saying.
No, he can't sign or read, and the case would be where you have somebody else read it to him and help him sign it.
No,
so
that's that it wouldn't work.
Kahana would also.
You could teach someone to sign their name and they still can't read or write. That's absolutely possible.
No, Rav Gamda, right? No, Rav Gamda needs a case somewhere in the middle.
Right, but Rav Gamda
They don't know how to sign their name. They don't know how to read English.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what must be. Well, it must be that's what it is. That they memorize how to sign the name, but they can't really read. So that would be the nafkamina. So it comes out now that there's three shitas. Right? There's Reb Shimon Gamliel who says that it only works for a get. Doesn't work for a regular star, the guy needs to be able to read and write. And you have Rav Gamda who's somewhere in the middle where they have to be able to write, but they don't necessarily have to know how to read. I mean, they have to be able to write their names. They don't necessarily have to know how to read. So three sheets, fine. Rabbi Yehuda, mitzstar kari v'chasim. Rabbi Yehuda, Rashi says he was old and his eyes were very weak. And whenever he was an aide, right? So he made sure to read the whole star and then sign his name. Now, I'm not sure why anybody would make him into an aide and put him into that situation, right? Don't make him into an aide if he has such a hard time and he's going to be makman on reading the whole star. Okay, but okay, that it be what it may, that's what he did. He used to read the whole thing. So I'm like, you don't need to do it. Because Rebbe Lazar, what a name, right? He was the master of the whole Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. So when he had to sign something, he had two people read it to him, and then he would sign. So he didn't read it. He had some people read it. Rav Nachman karu kamei sifrei dayani v'chasim, and Rav Nachman had the seifrim of the dayanim read it and then sign. So why do you have to be makbid to make sure to read it? They did that. And then it says v'dafka Rav Nachman v'sifri dayanim, but that was only Rav Nachman and the Sifrim dayanim. I'm sorry, that's the Safri dayani is one. He didn't need two Adam to read it. He only needed one. It said dafka Rav Nachman v'sifri dayani to islu emsa, right? Because they were scared, meaning they were scared of Rav Nachman because he was appointed by the Reish Galusa. Aval Rav Nachman v'sifri achrini, but it was other Sifrim that didn't work over there, so they weren't so intimidated by Rav Nachman. Then he couldn't really trust them. So Safri Daini v'init shechrini. He needed the cipher and somebody else to read it. So it should be like an edus, and then that would be solai. So therefore, we wouldn't allow because they weren't so intimidated from him. So again, when he was by the Dayanim and the people were aware that he was from the Reish Galusa, so then they wouldn't play games with him. So they're going to read to him exactly what it says, even one person. But other Sifrim weren't so intimidated, so therefore they had to make sure there was two people reading, so it would be like an edus, which again gets back to Akiva's kasha, which is if that's the case, then it's 8 Fine.
Well, over here it could be a little different inside Rav Elazar and Rav Nachman because they were Dayanim.
I hear.
So they're just telling over the facts of the case. It's not necessarily the actual chalais edus that's happening through what he's doing. They're just signing on, let's say, rendering a psak. It might be a little different to actual star where you're creating the situation.
Yeah. Okay. No, I hear that. Chiluk. Okay. Rapapa, ki hava asi l'kamei star parsa. So we had this Gemara already. Rapapa, when a Persian star came in front of him, right? The Avid bar ka'is shokusim, and it was made in the Gayish courts, right? We had already way back. I don't know exactly when. That the star in the non-Jewish courts would work. So Mikrilu Lishnei Kusim, what he did, he called over two Kusim because he didn't speak Persian or didn't read Persian. Zeh Shaloi Bifnei Zeh, but he called this one not in front of this one, the Masiach Lefi Tumai, and he didn't ask them to tell me what it says in there. He sort of made I don't know how he'd get around not having them know that he wants to know what's read, but he didn't make it like there was anything hinging on what they read, because otherwise they're not trusted. And then he signed the star, or he would use the star to even go collect from properties that had a lien on them, meaning like we said many times that you have different types of property that you can go after. Meaning you have property that the guy owns, that's easier to go after, but property that he already sold, that's harder to go after. You have to have a much more definitive document to be able to go collect on properties that already have liens on them. But he held it was such a strong document that would work, right? So again, but it's very interesting that what he did is he called two goyim separately, not with each other, right? And he did at Masiach Lefi Tumai. So Paiskim say nowadays that if you need to hear a testimony from a doctor about something, right, like the end of life issues, or this and that, you don't trust the guy. You can't trust the Goyish doctor, right? So some person will say if you go to two separate doctors without them knowing that each one's giving an opinion, and you get the same opinion, then it would work. I don't know if you can get a Masiach Lefi Tumai, right, without them knowing what the ramifications are, but you try and get it. But if you have them two separate, then it works. And then some person say if you get the doctor to put it in writing, then that also works, because they're intimidated from lawsuits. If they put it in writing, that means they have to back themselves up. If it was just an oral thing, so the guy could deny that he ever said it, right? Okay. So Rav Ashi,
Let's find more make on that.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Never handled the Tzadi Paiskim on this.
Yeah, because they rely on Kayla by Bas B'Chalav.
Yeah, I hear.
That's just oral. It's not in writing.
Right. What are you saying, Doctor?
Major issues in the Monosavafa. It's a major topic today. There are even various brands of people who consider themselves Orthodox that are not reliable. It's a very, very big problem. But I myself, when I hear something that's interesting to me, I say, have that cardiologist put it in writing, please. And I do follow that myself. I say, oh, that's very interesting. He said no more tests need to be done. Please tell him to put it in writing. So I agree with that approach. It does help.
And do they come back and put it in writing?
No.
hear. Right. I hear. Okay. So
When you say put it in writing, they all of a sudden they become a little bit more
Do you at
serious,
least see who you're talking to when this happens? Or?
What? What was the joke?
Yeah, you have the same thing with the union also. They come and they complain. You say, put it in writing. This one did this to me. Put it in writing. Never happens.
I hear. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Comparison.
What? Okay. So Amud Amali Ravuna Bar Nosan. Hachi Amar Ameimer. Hai Shtar Parsa. This star from Persia, the Chasime Eleh Sada Yisrael that had Yidden signed on it, right? Well, I don't know why they had it in a Persian, right? But okay, Magvina Mishabdi, then you're allowed to use, meaning you can go collect from liened properties, meaning we basically allow a star that's written in English, right? Which is, it's very interesting. The Mechiras Chametz star that we do with the guy, which you'd think we should write in English. At least in my mechira, the one that I do the Rabbanim with, they write it in Hebrew with the guy, and he signs it.
In Hebrew.
He signs in English, but he's signing a Hebrew star. Okay, the whole thing explained to him, but it's mamish the opposite of this Gemara. Yeah. Anyways, how can you call it a good star? How do the guys that signed it, the Yidden that signed it, they don't know how to read Persian. So the Gemara says, b'diyadi, they have to know how to read it in order to be a kosher star. But being on ksav she'ena yochel is dayef the it has to be in an ink that you can't forge, and you don't have that because the goyim, they don't write their shtaros in the same type of inks that we write it. So we say, but dafitza, not somewhere where they did use the gallnut stuff that it can't get forged, meaning you can't erase it. The derech in a star is at the end of the last few lines, you review over. You have to go back over the Indian of the star in the last line, and you don't have that. So we say, it did, meaning it has to meet all the qualifications of a Jewish star. Okay, the chol lashon kosher. What are you trying to teach us? That you're allowed to write a star in any lashon? Tanina, we already learned that. Get shekasu ivris. If you have a get that's written in ivris, the aid of Yavonis, and the Eidim sign in Greek, Yavonis, the aid of ivris, and if you write it written in Greek, and the Eidim is ivris, so it's kosher, right? So what's the chiddush here? There's no chiddush. So when it answers, I would have had a thought that it's only gittin. But other shtaros, you can't write, meaning a get, you can write in a different language. I'm assuming also because of igun, right? So, but other shtaros you can't. Kamash Malan, that it's fine. That or get and regular star could be written in other language. Fine. Amar Shmuel, Nasan Yar Chalak. If a guy gives his wife a smooth piece of parchment, meaning it doesn't seem like there's anything on it, and he says to her, "This is your get." Vigoresha, she is divorced. Right? Oh, it looks blank. Right? So what's the pshat? Chashinon, Shem may milan kasu, because we're chayshid that sin, not chayshid, but chayshesh, that since but the get was written with some of this disappearing thing, and the may milan, right? That's what we discussed in Amud Aleph. That one sheet that said you could put the may milan, and then you could write on top of it. So we're afraid that maybe he did that, and it's a legitimate get. Fine. So then basically we're going to ask, how could that be? A guy tells his wife, "This is your get." And she takes the get and throws into the water. She was not happy getting this get, right? Or she puts into a fire, or to anything that's going to cause the get to be lost. So the guy brings the get to the wife, the get throws it in the garbage or whatever, destroys it. And then the husband says, "Oh, that's a shtar pasim," right? From pius means it was it's sort of like to be mephias, to make them be on good terms, right? Meaning it's sort of like a shtar that you use that shows support to somebody, or shtar amana, or it's a shtar amana. From that comes from the word like amen, amuna. Right? Basically, these are shtaras that just show support from people. So Migareshes, she's still divorced. Now, again, the husband now backtracked. He gave her a get, and he says, here's your get. She throw it in the garbage, so we don't have the get to prove anything. And then he says, oh, that wasn't a real get anyways. It was one of these shtaras. And he's not believed to aser, right? So now, why is he not believed? So time of the ksav. The reason why he's not believed, and we consider her divorced, is because it was written. Ksav, but if it wasn't, then light. Then he wouldn't be believed. So Gemara answers. So meaning, so you see that if he would have handed a blank piece of paper to his wife, we would not trust that it's a get. So how come you said before that it is? So Gemara answers, this sounds like it's mamish from this century. That you check it with some sort of dye, some sort of liquid, yeah, and you put it over it, and then you'll end up seeing it's like what do you call it? You know, they have those passes where you put the line over it. Ultraviolet, right? Ultraviolet, right? So then, and you'll be able to see. So pull it. If it comes up, or it literally means escapes, so then it's fine. If you like pull it, lav klumhu, and if you don't see anything on the paper, then it's nothing. So basically, we can prove whether that blank piece of paper really had a get written on it. Okay, v'chipolin my havi hashdu the
Maybe they put Gershon saltpeter on it. It was good.
So yeah, yeah. So if it escapes, maybe it escaped now, meaning maybe it ran out now. Meaning, how do you know there wasn't writing there before, and now it just it ran or whatever, it disappeared. So the Gemara answer, Shmuel nami chashinan kamer. Shmuel didn't say that she's vadai considered divorced. He's choshed that she's divorced, right? So meaning she can't get married to anybody else, but she can't stay married to him, right? What's an afkamina? If he dies, is she an almana or is she a grusha, right? If she's a grusha, she can't marry Kaya. If she's an almana, she can, right? Fine. Amar Ravina, Amar Li Ameimar. Hachi Amar Merem Mishmedu Ravdimi, Hani Peitrei Diyav Gita Kamayo. You have these two Adam, and the husband gave a get in front of them. Tzrichi lemekaria. They need to read the get, right, to make sure that it's a get. Meaning, so basically what he's saying is that you have to read the get. Yeah? Which means, who are these guys? These are the Adam Mesira, right? So the Adam, right? Well, we have this whole Machlokes whether which Adam count, the Adam Mesira, Adam Chasima, but what the Gemara is saying is, even though we really just need the Adam to see the get handed over, you got to look at the get in order to see if it's legit. So then Gemara asks, Meisvei, if somebody says this is your get, and then she took it and put it into the water, or to a fire, or to anything that would get it lost. And then the husband says, oh, you know that thing that I told you was a get, it's not a get, it's a star pasim, or a star amanahu, so mugareshes. So she's divorced, and he's not believed to aser. But if you say that the Adam who saw the man give over the get need to read the get, busted the kriya. If the Adam read the thing, then can the husband say that it's not a get? Meaning, in order to make it a kosher get, you have to have Adam watching it. If you're saying now that the Adam have to read it before they hand it over, so then how can you say that this guy backs off and says, oh, that wasn't really a get, it was a star of support? If the Adam looked at it, the Adam will knock him out and say, what are you talking about? It's a get, right? So what we do scenario? So like the bus of the kruye. So a weird case. It's after the Adam read it. He put it into like his pocket or his sleeve. Tachas knafov. He put it under his arm. Where Rashi, I don't know. He put it somewhere vafku, and then he took it out and he gave it to his wife. So Mao the same a chalufe chalpe. So you would think that he pulled the trickery. Right? He took and put in one star. I don't even magic. He put in one star and he took out a different one. And Kamash Malan, that we're not choshed that he did something like that. Yeah. So Kamash Malan, we're not choshed that he did anything like that. Okay, we'll stop over here.
What's the chazaka here, Yaakov?
What?
Where did we get the chazaka from?
Where do you get the chazaka from?
In all these cases that we're assuming that she was megureshes and therefore that the Baal is not believed, then the chazaka based on the star? I'm saying like it's almost like you're trying to Hagufa, what you're trying to establish chazaka is what's being disputed here.
Right. So, well, I'm saying, where are you getting that there's a chazaka here?
Well, how else are you? Why else would we? What's the Kamash Malan? That what? That we don't believe him? Why? Based on what? Because it's not normal to have it that way.
Yeah. It's like it's sort
and
of
in the
like
case before.
Yeah, you can't. How do you go backtrack on something? Like I think I was understanding it. I don't got to run to Meir, but like a woman says she's a nida, she can't back off. I don't know if it's exact comparison. She can't back off, right?
But there she's believed. There she's believed, right? There's an amonis to that. Here she's becheskes until now, and now you're trying to change that status, and you're saying, well, you're not believed anymore. We've already. I would assume it's because we've established her as Megareshes at the Baals when we say you have a nice life. But Hagufa, that's the dispute. Otherwise, she's becheskes ish.
Wouldn't we want him to backtrack and they stay married?
I don't. It's
Well,
not
that's what's a
thing,
suffix now. It's a suffix.
As long as the Gemara is saying it's not a suffix, it would only be a suffix if we're chayshish that he switched it.
You're saying which
not chayshish, he switched it.
Right. You're saying all these are just we're not chayshish. You have to say
Right.
that. Look, otherwise, how do you establish that she's not a cheskes anymore?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Gemara is saying. There could be
And before
a chashash that XYZ. No, we don't. He gave her a get. We saw the get.
Once he's established that it's a get, he can't go backtrack back and establish it's a get. Right. That you have to say. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm signing off because I wanted to. All right. Say
Go
it.
ahead.
To the Good Nacht.
Good.
Good.